may cry.
What's up, dudes? This mission is pretty much defined by Fausts, which are a terrible enemy designed by a moron, so let's start this off with some bitching. The first fight really highlights the annoying problems with this enemy. Basically, there's no realistic way to fight it that doesn't rely on abusing the AI. Its patterns are totally random, and it will frequently hang out in places where you simply can't attack it, while it launches ranged attacks that can't be interrupted even with a level 3 charge shot. In this small elevator, it's infinitely more likely to be floating outside where it can't be attacked, and if you happen to knock its cloak off when it's out there, it will simply fall to the floor and bounce back up with a fresh cloak as if nothing happened. Nonsense, garbage, bullshit, trash, pick a word for it, it probably fits. Your only tool against this situation is turning the camera away from it and pretending it doesn't exist, because enemies in this game can't attack from off screen. Then you hope that it floats into a position you can actually fight it from and go from there. At the very least, if you do successfully knock the cloak off, you can kill it with one showdown, which is very easy to combo into. Here, the Faust combines with two Mephistos in a tiny arena to be a real shit show. If the Faust uses any of its ranged attacks, you're basically screwed. Usually they need dodged in a very specific way, and if a Mephisto happens to attack in that direction at the same time, well, there's not really much you can do but activate Devil Trigger. However, this is the first fight, so you come into it with only 3 bars, which means 1 activation, and these enemies are absolute garbage for building meter. Basically, this fight sucks in every quantifiable way. Thankfully, it's at the start of the mission, so if you do get hit you can retry it real quick, so that's one thing to take solace in. Mostly though, just misery and suffering. Thankfully, the fight in the Blade Room has the decency to not throw a Faust at you until both Mephistos are dead. While it's still a garbage fight, and you have to just hope it plays along, the bigger arena makes it far more likely it's somewhere you can attack it, and you can use positioning to manipulate it pretty well too. On its own, the Faust isn't too horrible. It can still stall the fight out for 40 minutes if it so chooses, but you can actually react to and avoid its attacks without getting clobbered by some other enemy, so it's pretty manageable. The whole falling out of bounds and getting its cloak back stuff still applies though, so if you're retrying this a lot, be prepared for some frustration. The enemy's still ass even in its most manageable form. A huge portion of this fight is just running away waiting for him to be in position to actually take damage or get punished, so enjoy the speed up. As always, if you want to see it unedited, hit that card on the top right. This Angelo fight is also optional, but it does have purpose. Full Devil Trigger makes the next fight significantly easier, and this one is basically risk free, so it's fine to spend some time building your meter up. I finished them all off for good measure because hey, they're fun to kill. Devil May Cry after all. Of course, it's not the most exciting thing to watch, so I've sped it up a bit. The most standard of tactics and nothing interesting to show off really, so no need to dwell on it. This room is just kind of rude really. The Basilisks are annoying as hell, and it's really tough to engage the Auto Angelos until they're dead, so they need to die as soon as possible. After making it through both Faust fights, this can be a little nerve-wracking, so I opt to just play it safe and do it with charge shots. Once the Basilisks are down, the party gets started. The air is the safest place to fight autos from, since they have no ground to air attack, and it's very easy to interrupt whatever they do in the sky, since their attacks up there have way more wind up than on the ground. This is where Devil Trigger comes in especially handy, because you can launch them in situations they would otherwise not be launchable. Playing it slow and steady is the way to go, no need to rush. It's not a particularly hard battle, but you really don't want to have to replay everything leading up to it because that can be brutal. Screw Fausts. Never want to see that enemy again. Ever. Ever. Dante is quite terrifying. For the most part, he keeps it honest, but he has a couple of moves that can just blindside you and demolish your run. So you're definitely hoping RNG is on your side in this one. The first phase follows a similar pattern to the Dante fight way back in Mission 1. Bait out stingers with Snatch, roll out of the way, grab him when his stinger finishes. The first time you do this, it's important to go and smash some stuff for red orbs because you can't hit the S rank without doing so. A cool and fun facet of this mission. Thanks Itsuno, good design dudes. The whole first phase can be dealt with the stinger bait strategy, which is about as simple as it appears. The second phase is when things start getting nasty. He starts adding in styles, which changes what's possible a lot. Trickster means the stinger bait no longer works while it's active. Royal Guard means you can't do damage except a buster after snatching him. And Gunslinger means there's a huge risk he just does some instant unreactable shotgun stuff. So fingers crossed that when he does switch to it he doesn't actually do anything before switching back, which is something that happens a surprising amount. On top of that, while comboing him he can just decide to switch styles and pull himself out of hit stun. It's really weird and totally changes how you have to play against him. So if you want to be safe, your damage potential drops off pretty far. 2 hits into Devil Trigger activation into Buster is about all I'm willing to risk. Things got pretty scary here near the end. He dodges out of my snatch and I just barely managed to activate Devil Trigger in time to save myself from the follow-up. But I'm still in a pretty rough situation. Because of this activation, I don't have enough meter to land the Buster which would normally have killed, and I have to play the fight out some more. Even worse is, I didn't notice this fact, so I just did a regular grab which goes into this little cinematic sequence and leaves me close to him at huge risk of damage. Thankfully, he did something I could easily punish with a charge shot at least. Big moment of relief when this guy goes down. Way too close for my liking, not a fan of this fight at all. Anyway, that was mission 10. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next mission.